We saw Oppenheimer there, and then I don't think I've seen anything else there besides this Brave New World. But yeah, dude, this kid was just the whole movie. Like he hit it probably 2,000 times, and
That's
Fran
gotta be
goes
a
to
record.
Fran goes to the lobby, and she was like, "I think someone's seat is malfunctioning in front of me." Like anonymously complained about it.
Yeah.
She's like, "I think it's seat C5. Something's going on," and they didn't do anything about it. And she just like switched seats with me, but everyone around us was too polite to say anything. Had it been a good movie, I probably would have got the usher, dude. Like if we were watching
Dude,
Oppenheimer in there, I would have fucking freaked out. Like,
See,
dude, it's just
that's why you got to go to an AMC. If you would have told an AMC employee, they would have came out, executed the man in the middle of the movie, and just walked away.
I would have. That's what I would have done.
That's a
Fuck that
standing O
guy.
right there. Brave New World,
fucking-
5 stars.
Yeah. So yeah, that was my viewing experience of Brave New World is so tarnished because of that.
Oh my
But
god.
I don't know. I mean, the theater was kind of packed too. You know how it is with Marvel. We didn't even stay for the after credits part. She was like, "I gotta
the
get the
post-
fuck out of here."
What, during the middle of the credits running, was he?
I probably did. It was crazy. Like it was to the point where you're looking at this dude's chair, waiting for him to keep doing it, and like maybe he'll stop now, but no.
Imagine you look over and it's just Chris Evans the whole time, just fucking.
Yeah. That would probably been the only person that could get away with that.
He's like, fuck this movie for not having it in me.
But anyways, all right. So The Gorge, Apple TV. Welcome back to Ripe Avocados, by the way. And yeah, so new movie, Miles Teller. Not his most recent movie since Top Gun Maverick. I actually looked that up because it had been a while since I had seen him. He did one other. I think it was not a motion picture release too, or I might.
It was straight to streaming.
I think it. Well, isn't The Gorge technically not a motion picture because it's not? I don't know what. Whatever. I'm talking out of my ass here. I don't really know what I'm talking about. But yeah, Miles Teller and Anya Taylor-Joy. And Sigourney Weaver, too. Just one of the best casts I've seen in recent memory. But
Yeah, and it was crazy because when I saw Sigourney Weaver on screen for the
She
first
got
time,
work
I was
done or
like,
something.
Yeah, I was like, is that Sigourney Weaver?
dude, she definitely got some work done. It took me
Or
a
just
second. And
makeup.
she. What?
Just whatever makeup they had.
It could have been, but her nose looked a little different to me. Like, and she had less wrinkles and stuff. She probably got a lot of Botox.
She got she got the John B special from that One Divergent adjacent movie.
Uglies.
Uglies, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So let's get into it and let's talk about The Gorge on Apple TV.
Daydream, I fell asleep amid the flowers for a couple of hours on a beautiful day. Daydream.
The Gorge is it's a clear and day Valentine's movie. I mean, it's about basically this giant gorge, giant like hole in between two mountains, and it's super foggy. And two elite agents from the Eastern Hemisphere and one agent from the Western.
One
Hemisphere.
Russian and one American.
Well, no, it's different every
She's-
time.
Well, yeah, but Soviet, like Lithuania is a Soviet nation or whatever.
Yeah.
And it
Well,
seems
who
like
knows?
Great Britain sends
They'll
like Europe.
send like Bobby Lee next time to guard the gorge.
Yeah, yep.
But basically, yeah, two elite agents from the east and western hemisphere guard the gorge and kill anything that comes out. They're basically there to stop whatever's in the gorge from coming out. And that's their mission. And also, what they're told is they can't communicate with the other side, and they break that within a couple months. And Miles Teller is a horn dog and goes a step further and traverses across the gorge to get his nut. And
Some say Miles Teller only showed up for the zip line.
Facts.
Have you
Yes,
seen that?
Yeah, Tim
that
Robinson.
Clip?
Yeah. Literally. Dude, what a fucking psychopath. Are you kidding me? Which is crazy because they saw what was in the gorge too. And he
Yeah.
still traveled across it. I would never do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, he falls down into the gorge, and Anya Taylor-Joy follows her heart on this Valentine's Day movie and dives in with him to uncover the secrets of it.
Yeah. So, where do you want to start here? What do you think of it overall?
Overall, I thought it was like a dope movie. I
agree.
enjoyed it through and through. There were parts of the movie that I was really cringing at, and I was like, this is this is weird.
The drums.
But the drums, the chest, like I get it. Queen's Gambit, Whiplash, like
Oh, I didn't even make
hilarious.
that. I didn't make either of those connections actually. That's funny you
Queen's
brought that up.
Gambit I knew right away, but then Whiplash I didn't know until I was talking to my friends about it. But yeah, but
That's funny,
also some of the
actually.
lines though were just like way too corny, and I was like, but
Some
then
of
it's
them-
like it's Miles Teller and Anya Taylor-Joy.
Yeah, I really think I wrote down that these actors could make the worst piece of garbage. Like they could star in A Brave New World with 5 people in a row in front of me clicking their seats, and I would probably like it a decent amount. You
Yeah.
know? I don't think there's a hotter actress out there right now, a more popular actress out there right now than Anya. I think.
Oh,
she
I thought you were
is-
talking about Miles Teller. Okay.
him as well. I mean, it's like, out of our generation, I guess you could call Chalamet a generation, like a newer generation than Miles Teller, but I sort of group them the same way because
Yeah, same.
they sort of like Whiplash was 2014. That was kind of his breakout. I mean, he was in Project X and like, but I mean, that was a
Dude,
popular movie.
my favorite fun fact is Miles Teller plays Miles Teller in Project X. Like literally, his character's name is Miles
yeah,
Teller.
and he's
just-
like a basketball player or something.
yeah,
Like, he
or
wasn't
was
that
like the,
famous.
he was
at
the
time.
star baseball player, and I think he like graduated, but he's like going to this high school party because he's like, hey, I heard there's gonna be some high school pussy there. They're like, yeah, bro.
These two are phenomenal. Like their chemistry is very good, and honestly, a lot of like they just mask a lot of the problems that you could really point out with plot and whatnot. But overall, I thought the characters were solid, and it's pretty much just them two the whole time. Sigourney Weaver is maybe on screen for 10 minutes, 5-10 minutes.
To get blown to smithereens.
Yep, and I thought she was a good cast. Like, did they need her in that role? Probably not. They probably could have saved a lot of money hiring anybody like else. But I love Sigourney Weaver, so I'll take it. You know what I mean? And you know, like Akan, I thought like these character arcs had really no development at all. It was the same sort of special ops storyline. Miles Teller has no human connections whatsoever, and neither does Anya, aside from her dad who's literally going to kill himself on Valentine's Day because he has cancer and he doesn't want to do treatment for it. So that whole spiel was kind of, I've seen this a billion times, you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
at the end of the day, these two on camera together, I just think it worked really well, and I was gleaming at a lot of the scenes. I loved the notes, like when she's holding up the notes, like "best birthday ever" or something.
Yeah.
That was a funny scene, and that whole dialect, and that sort of gets into like the cinematography of it. But I liked how few words or they just limited the dialogue early on, and just at all the parts where they were across the gorge from one another.
Yeah.
But even like the first part of the movie, when you see Anya, you know, sniping that guy in the woods, like she's not saying anything, and there's just a very small amount of dialogue in this
Yeah.
movie altogether.
I will say, the more that you talk about their chemistry, in my head I was like, bro, what chemistry? It just seems so like forced. But the more I think about it, your point about Miles Teller being like a spec ops agent that literally has no ties to anyone else in his life, he probably has never grown like an emotional connection to someone besides right now with Anya Taylor-Joy. So, like,
Yeah.
of course, it's going to be a cringy. Of course, he's going to say, like, weird lines and it's going to seem forced, but that's his character. Of
Right.
course it's going to happen.
You talked about how their mission is you're not supposed to talk to the other operative, but I sort of read between the lines here when the predecessor to Miles Teller gets shot by the people that pick him up, and it's a huge conspiracy or whatever. Kind of leads me to believe that all these operatives sort of communicate with one another, and the Eastern and Western nations just kill them each time. So regardless of if they're communicating, they're like Sigourney Weaver asks him point blank, like, did you start this computer file to set off this whole thing? They're watching. They know.
Yeah.
So that's sort of where I read into that, and it's kind of like the luckiest blind date of all time for Miles Teller.
Well, yeah, dude. So that's what I was saying when I was watching the movie. Like, if you were in the gorge, on the other side, it'd be like some like 300-pound like grizzly Russian man.
But either
like,
way, you're probably still
best
talking
birthday
to him.
ever, bro.
Yeah, you're probably still talking to that guy, and they're simultaneously just shooting what looks like clickers from The Last of Us.
Yeah.
Or they kind of reminded me of the Davy Jones henchmen a little bit. I don't know. That whole spiel. We'll get into the effects and whatnot, but as far as characters go, I didn't have that much more to go on to it. This movie's focused a lot on their relationship with one another and how it builds up. I thought the ending too was really, really like corny. The fact that no one gets infected, no one dies, and it's just seemingly like a perfect ending. The way the movie started, it seemed like that would not have
Valentine's
been.
Day movie, man.
I know, but it also it would have been cool had he sacrificed himself too.
Yeah, I was thinking he would.
They really lead into that, but then there were just some really predictable points to the overall plot. When she's at the restaurant in France or whatever, and then she turns and like looks at the camera,
and it's the Christopher Nolan Batman and Alfred moment.
Or do they even cheers? I think they just head nod.
No, it's just like a stare at each other, acknowledgement.
And again, it's fine. It all works because I think these two actors are just very universally liked, at least by you and I. And I feel like a lot
Besides
of people.
Fantastic Four. Fantastic Four was a mishap.
Is that his fault though?
Nah.
No. He was the best character in my opinion in Top Gun Maverick, or one of them. Like you could make the case for our boy Glenn Powell. He was.
I actually love Tom Cruise in that movie. I'm not gonna lie.
It's hard to. That's probably.
That's not a hot take.
You can't say Maverick without.
But Miles Teller, I can't call him the best actor in that movie. Then it's Tom Cruise.
I know. Anyway. I mean, his character was great. Because his character had the most development in that movie, for sure. Mm-hmm. And you could say Hangman too, like Glenn Powell.
Like him in Whiplash, I know J.K. Simmons, everyone applauds him for that role. Well deserved.
Yeah.
Got the Oscar for it. I don't know if Miles Teller was nominated or not, but I know he didn't win. And I feel like it's generally noted that that movie is talked about how amazing it is, but like I don't feel like a lot of people talk about how amazing Miles Teller is in it. Like his acting is incredible in that movie. Yes.
He is. And it's kind of a similar role. Remember, he dumps his girlfriend because he has to focus on band. And again, in this, he's just a special forces agent. Yeah. But they're just great actors, dude. They are at the top of their game. I like I said, I think Miles Teller and Chalamet are like... Chalamet does more roles, but I probably like Miles Teller a little bit more. I think Whiplash and Top Gun Maverick are better than any movie that Chalamet's been in. Dune 2 is fucking great. That's probably his best one, or his best...
Maybe Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory?
I didn't see that one yet. That's a musical, right?
Yeah.
I haven't watched it. I'm sure it's okay. I mean, I do like Chalamet. I think he's solid.
I like him in Little Women. I've seen that movie probably 3 times for some reason.
but no, yeah. And then Anya is just... she can't miss. Everything she's in is fucking awesome. So, yeah. So cinematography, I guess I did love the soundtrack of this movie. It was like it kind of
Yeah.
reminded me of Tron a little bit. It was like every
I,
little fight scene. It
I
was
see
like
what you're saying.
it was, or kind of like Mad Max too, but you didn't have like the guitar player on a on an 18 wheeler. But they every time there was any bit of action, it just you knew it was coming. They were just
Yeah.
like hammering drums and hammering that soundtrack. But it made the movie fun. I mean, their kill counts at the end of the movie were probably like close to triple digits each.
Oh yeah,
but
dude, the first attack scene you see when the clicker things, the hollow men are climbing out of the gorge on the walls, and they're both sniping across to each other's sides. The turrets come up, the mines are
Yeah.
going off. I thought the CGI in this film was fucking incredible. I thought it was fucking good.
I did, but when finish your thought. Finish your thought.
Well, no, because I was going to go on to more cinematography things.
Well, the CGI, there was a lot of it. And when they went in the gorge, I thought it was a little like, I don't know. Like when they were on the horsebacks, I thought that was kind of ridiculous. But I agree. That scene when
But
they're
that makes
scaling
sense, though.
it does make sense. I just thought it looked a little like
Wonky?
ridiculous. Yeah. To me, honestly, I was wondering how they could have made this movie even more realistic, because when friend and I were watching it, I was like, there's probably like nukes down in there, and same idea, like
Yeah.
this was before they revealed it was the Oppenheimer like trade-off
Yeah.
or whatever. So like they could have just put nukes down in that facility, but then there wouldn't have been people that they had to kill and whatnot. And I thought the idea the whole plot idea in general was pretty interesting. You know, I haven't
Yeah.
seen something exactly like this, and I don't know. Just the CGI when they got down into the gorge got a little too much for me at times, but there were some awesome action scenes. The one they scale the wall is sick with the Jeep too. at the very
Yeah.
end.
Yeah. When they're climbing out of the gorge. I thought the cinematography was incredible in this movie. Like I said, I loved the CGI. That was fantastic. But also when they're in the gorge, for some reason, it kept reminding me of like a Broadway set. Like minimal set pieces, like little like small trees here and there, and then just like fog and just or not bright colors, but like strong blues, strong reds, and like as they're walking through the colors. And I don't know, I was watching it and I was like, wow, this is really taking me somewhere right now.
I also will add too another positive. I don't know. I fired guns a couple times, or actually one time in my life, like with my uncle, South Carolina, but it seemed like they trained pretty hard for this movie. Like the amount of times they're reloading their guns and stuff. I don't know tactically like how you're supposed to do that, but it looked really clean. It looked like it was practiced a lot, because they're constantly reloading their shit, and the way they're tapping each other on the back and like using army like or military techniques. I thought was really sick. And dude, Anya's depth is just fucking crazy. The fact that she's playing like that girl in the menu and the witch to this, like she can do any fucking role she wants to, and she's very attractive too. I know a lot of people probably just watch this movie because I saw like one of the top Letterboxd clips was like the plot didn't matter. I was just looking at her eyes the whole time. And he says it. He's like, wow, I didn't realize how green your eyes were and whatever. And granted, she's an attractive person for sure, but don't let that take away from that woman can fucking act.
Yeah. Dude, it's something about her too, because she's not like. I feel like if you gave the majority of people, you asked them their top 5 most attractive like female actresses, Anya Taylor-Joy's name probably wouldn't pop up as many times in that list. But there's something about her that like draws you to her face, and it's like unconventionally attractive in a way.
Because she doesn't look basic at all.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's a thing. She doesn't look like every IG model out there.
I don't think she has a lot of. I mean, she probably has some cosmetic surgery. She's a celebrity, but like
I don't know.
She's just very. I don't know. She
kind of
doesn't look like a
though.
lot of. She doesn't look like a lot of girls.
Yeah,
I would say.
Yeah.
Also, her accent was fucking amazing in this movie, dude. I had to look up what nationality she was. She's American, but like it did not sound like bad whatsoever. We did the remember we did the Juror number 2, and Toni Collette, great actor, but her Southern accent needed some work, in my opinion. And I get it. That's a huge part of acting. Like Gary Oldman is the GOAT of that. He can do every accent. I think he's done like 11 different types of accents in movies. And Gary Oldman's Gary Oldman, you know. But I thought Anya's accent was phenomenal. Even the conversation she's just having with her father before. It just never once. I was waiting for her like to slip up and sound a little more American, but I never heard it. I'm just gonna double check.
Do you know? I watched this video where a bunch of British actors said who the worst American was to do a British accent.
No, I haven't seen this. Can I guess?
Yeah,
is this a like celebrity or an actor, or like both?
It's an actor. It's an older actor, but like
probably Sean Connery.
What?
The hardest accent to do?
No. So they asked a bunch of British actors which American actor has done the worst British accent on screen.
I see. Like, if you give me the movie or TV show, will that give it away?
Yes.
Maybe Benedict Cumberbatch in Sherlock.
No. You're thinking too.
He is British. He is British too. That's so disrespectful.
Yeah. Your first 2 guesses have been so far wrong. The first one you didn't understand the game. The second one was.
I'll do one more actual one.
You gotta think older. You gotta think older. You would know him from old movies.
How old? Like 60s, 70s, 80s?
Yeah, through that range. He's also in a newer movie, but like it's not what the accent is.
Harrison Ford?
Nah.
All right, I don't know.
Do you know Dick Van Dyke?
Yeah.
Yeah, in Mary Poppins. His chimney sweep accent, they say, is by far the worst British accent an American actor has done.
Interesting. I've probably only seen him in that and maybe like a clip or 2 of I Love Lucy, but he's not playing a British person in that show.
Yeah. So. He's also in Night at the Museum.
Is he? Okay.
Yeah, he's one of the older security guards or whatever.
Okay. Yeah, so because he's been dead for a little while now, but I've only seen probably a few things by him. Obviously, I've seen Mary Poppins, but it's been many years. But that's funny. But yeah, no, Anya's just she's awesome, dude. I could go on about her forever. So writing, I just said I didn't really love the fairy tale ending like I talked about before, but I loved the pacing of this movie.
Yeah.
They just showed you months, and I don't think they went month by month. I think sometimes they would skip a few months.
It was large gaps in between, too.
Right, but that played into the whole lack of dialogue that I think made the movie just really interesting. We just had very little conversations, aside from just the note cards they were holding up to each other, and the rest was just them, like, beating or shooting these hollow men, and just a lot of action, and there is a bit of mystery to it when they're uncovering what's going on, but I really think this movie could have been even better had they incorporated a bit of maybe
tragedy at the end.
A tragedy / twist, because I think we both figured it out really quickly. And I also thought they kind of copied a lot of these other sci-fi elements. Like, those skull things in the church were just face huggers from Alien franchise.
Oh.
Right?
Yeah.
That was a complete rip-off of that. And I thought the whole thing...
Wait, the skull things in the church?
Remember the skulls that were like spiders?
Oh, yeah, the spiders. Dude.
Right, but they had skulls on their heads or whatever.
Oh,
and they were just trying... It seemed like they were just trying to, like, attach themselves to them as a... I don't know. They never, like, did it. This whole world kind of reminded me of the Upside Down a little bit from Stranger Things 2. What happened?
We got to go back to that church scene, because those spiders, there would have been shit all in my pants. Like,
they were freaky, don't get me wrong, but I
hate spiders though. So like little spiders. So giant spiders,
with skulls?
I'm pissing and shitting everywhere.
Mm-hmm. It was freaky, but again, that I just thought there was a lot of CGI there to where it wasn't as scary as it could have been. I thought they should have just had the Hollow Men in costumes. That would have looked way creepier to me. They could have used CGI
for like the wall scene,
right? But then, I'm sure they did a bit of that. But I think that's what makes The Last of Us so good. And I'm connecting all of these things that I think influenced this movie. I think it's a lot of The Last of Us. I really saw a lot of Davy Jones, like There's one of his henchmen that his face is like decayed by the water. That's sort of what it reminded me of. And
it kind of reminded me a little bit of like walkers too.
White Walkers?
Yeah.
The whites, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, no,
whites, you mean?
the whites are not the White Walkers.
Yeah. Yeah.
The whites are the dead, the army of the dead zombies.
But then also riding around on horses, like, come on.
Did I say that right? Yeah, no, the White Walkers are the ones with the icicles. And dude, the whole bottom world was just very reminiscent of the Upside Down to me. That whole amoeba of cells connected to each other at the end.
Yeah.
That part was a little freaky, I guess, but I think it could have been a masterpiece had they incorporated a little less predictability in the writing. That's all. But this was a very solid watch, and I would tell people to watch it, definitely.
Yeah. No, I thought the writing in this movie was overall like great. The only thing, because like even the whole like Hollow Men on horses, like it made sense because of the whole cavalry that went in there and never came back. Like, okay, I get it. There's horses in there. But, the only thing on the writing was you actually talked about how good it was. Dude, the ammo count. I don't know. When they go into the gorge, like, the fact that they just run out of ammo towards the end is, like, crazy to me. I would have been out in a minute 30. I would have been spraying my shit into the smoke.
No, that's all valid. I was just talking about how they were focusing on them reloading. And going
very
through.
Tactical.
Yes. And they made it very obvious how heavy their snipers were at the end. Remember, they're running, and Miles Teller's like lugging that thing because snipers aren't they like 100
They are
pounds?
heavy, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And it just seemed like they trained a lot for it. Again, I have no fucking clue if that's actually how that happens, but I've seen Chris Pratt talking about his training for the Terminal List, and he was a former Marine, and he's fucking going in depth on like how much they tried to replicate the real thing. He was talking to that guy Jocko Willnick. I don't know.
Oh yeah, Jocko. Yeah.
And Jocko like pointed out one little thing. He was like, right here, you didn't do this or that, or I don't remember exactly what it was. And Chris Pratt was like, yeah, only you would notice something like that. But you can only shoot these scenes so many times too because they use so much budget to make all of these. Because they're just shooting blanks, or they're probably just like.
They're shooting like blanks, or they're just using CGI for like muzzle flash and stuff. But no, I love. There's videos online where it's like Navy SEAL will react to fight scenes in movies and stuff like that, and they'll talk about how they're not clearing the room correctly, or like covering someone's six. I don't know, whatever they talk about. But Miles Teller, he's perfect for these like war type roles. He's just got like a stoic face. He's like he looks like
super American.
Someone, yeah.
Yeah. Fuck yeah. No, he is, but he's also in Whiplash, dude. So like the dude can fucking act.
He can.
He needs to just be in more different range roles, but he could be in an action series. I mean, if he was British, he'd be a perfect like James Bond type, or just like maybe a Jason Bourne reboot type.
You know, they want to make, or there's a lot of chatter about Aaron Taylor Johnson being the next James Bond.
I could see that, yeah. Although ATJ is not, he doesn't have a great track record of being the star of movies, except for Kick-Ass,
which was like very early on in his
career. It was. That's that whole. Wasn't that the director? You know that about his whole relationship with that?
Oh yeah, he's like closer in age with his stepdaughter than he is with his wife. She
started dating him when he was like
17.
Yeah, and she was like 40.
Or she knew him, at 17 and then started dating him at 18.
And I believe that's sort of how he landed that role too, for Kick-Ass. But
he's a good-looking guy. Pretty people privilege.
Yeah, you could call it that. You could call it that. All right, do you want to do the scores?
Jeff Epstein privilege. I don't know. Yeah, let's do scores.
Okay, so entertainment, I went 7.8.
Entertainment, I went 7.5.
Characters, I went 7.7.
Characters, I went 8.0.
And then cinematography, I went 8.2.
Cinematography, I went 8.8.
Damn, okay.
Yeah.
And then writing, what were you, excuse me, what were you saying?
No, I just love the cinematography.
Yeah, that was the highest one for me. And then I went 6.0 for writing, because we talked about some of those.
Yeah, writing, I went 6.5.
Yep.
Pretty across the board.
Like, our biggest discrepancy is, I guess, cinematography, but we're both over an 8 there. I just knacked it. I didn't like the CGI as much as you, I would say, but the pacing, which I would count in that category as well, with I just thought the soundtrack was really fucking good. And it was sort of built for a streaming thing too, where you probably didn't have to pay that close attention to other things, because whenever they were just like blasting that Tron music, you just knew that something was going
down. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. And then the R.I.P. to the black dude in the beginning of the
JD.
movie. Yeah, he had this huge backstory. Like,
I know.
As soon as he threw the flare down, I was like, "Oh, he's gonna get fucking murdered."
Yeah, dude, that's literally what I thought. The second he's just hanging there on the rope, I'd be.
He's way too comfortable,
motherfucker. Like,
yeah.
What are we doing here?
Way too comfortable,
no, dude. Yeah, I instantly knew he was gonna die. But also think about that. Like 365 days, you're there alone.
Right.
Like, yeah, you might chat with someone across the other side through a piece of paper, but, like, you're there alone for a year, and then you just get shot in the head.
I was waiting for a bit. This would have also been a good piece of the writing. I was waiting for Miles Teller to find him somehow, because they just dropped his body off. Because I was wondering how he was going to figure out that he was going to get killed at the end of the mission. And they sort of just answer that themselves, which I thought was lazy. He was like, the only reason they hired me was because I have no life. And she was like, wow, I also have killed 300 people and have no social life. What are the odds? So I thought it would have been way cooler of a plot thing had, say, Miles Teller, whatever, he still falls in love with Anya, goes back across the gorge, falls in, and then stumbles across that dude's body, you know? Also, Anya just, like, diving into the gorge was fucking crazy. That was like a Jedi move. She just jumped in, like,
would
no
you have
harness.
done that for your partner?
Yes, definitely. Brandon, when you're watching this, yep. Head first. She didn't even see what, like, she had a parachute. So she was good. But yeah, overall, it's a good movie. Give this a final score of a 7.6 out of 10. And all of our scores can be found on our website, which will be linked in our YouTube, in our podcast, or in our podcast site, excuse me. And unless you got anything else, I think. What were we gonna say?
I was just gonna say, definitely recommend this movie.
Mm-hmm.
If you haven't watched the trailers for it or anything, like, strap in for a Valentine's Day movie. It is very focused on the relationship between Miles Teller and Anya Taylor-Joy. Even though there's not a lot of dialogue in the beginning, it's like a fun ride throughout. There's action mixed in with drama, mixed in with romance. So it's definitely a fun movie.
It is. That's a good way to encapsulate that. So that's going to do it here for episode 34 of Ripe Avocados. We'll be back next week. And this was The Gorge, 7.6 out of 10. Go check it out, and we'll catch you guys next time. Peace out.
Deuces.
I dream of the places I've been with you, how we sat with the street.